We're halfway through the second day, and I'm about to say something I honestly never thought in my whole life I would have the opportunity to say. I'm goosebumped and have been for 5 minutes knowing this moment's coming. But we are about to see two players who between them have 6 GSL Code S championships. Both of them are, I think, without good argument, the best players of each of their respective races on planet Earth. So please put your hands together for the best Zerg ever. LG IEM NesTea. And his opponent and teammate and the best Terran of all time, LG IEM MVP. I am seriously not worthy of this moment. Have fun, good luck. And man, the casters are gonna have some fun with this one. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Jarrett, on the stage. Welcome back to the caster's desk here for group number 2, day 9. What on earth is going on?
I've just been at the desk just doing one of these. It's kind of like that. I almost feel that this moment is kind of like when you actually landed that date with the perfect girl. And you know, you show up and you're like, oh, hey, how's your day been? You try to be cool, but like in the car, you are like smelling your breath. You're like, oh, this is going to be the greatest night of my life. This is happening right now. Literally, 2 players that were probably some of the first heroes that anyone had in StarCraft 2, now playing against each other for round 1 of Group B.
Yep, too true. NesTea and MVP, idolized by many, many a Zerg and Terran player out there, as we will have NesTea showing himself to begin with, as he is a formidable foe in himself. And, you know, I mean, going up against MVP, both of these players, you know, they practice together a lot. They're on the same team, they're on the same wavelength to a certain degree. I mean, not only are both of these players able to bring out formidable macro games, but you've got to imagine there's going to be some kind of psychological edge and psychological differences going into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's kind of interesting to note is that MVP has had some of the best counters to NesTea that we've ever seen. I even remember when NesTea was really well known for doing his early 3-hatch against Terran, defending with roaches. MVP identified that he was doing this roach build and then double expanded behind that. So it was a 4-base Terran versus a 3-base Zerg. And you'd only really know that's a comfortable response having lived in the same pro house together. And their MVP, undoubtedly the most dominant Terran player of all time in this game. But it's not just, I mean, it's not even close. It's not even contestable who the best Terran player is. It's MVP. He's stayed at the top always.
Yeah, I mean, there's a small little bit of a debate going on right now, giving the potential position to Tasia right now. A lot of people say Tasia's pretty good, but Tasia's not had that long-term consistency that we've seen from MVP over months and months and months and months.
I mean, Tasia's the sort of person where you're like, wow, he is beating literally everyone right now, and he's certainly the most hyped Terran around right now. But if you have to put your money somewhere, you have to put it on MVP. His style of play revolves around not doing a lot of cute stuff, not doing a lot of Blue Flame Hellion or Cloaked Banshee against Zerg, building just Marines and tanks, and he has the scariest Marine tank pushes of anyone in the world. They're very difficult to deal with.
He does. He's extremely methodical about not only that initial push, but also the way in which he can drop whilst going for that push down the center of the map as well. I mean, yes, a lot of Terrans do that, but there's almost always like 1 or 2 drops, always accompanying pushes down the middle, unless he's, of course, just faking that push, which we see a lot from MVP as well, and then just pulling back, you know, scaring his Zerg a little bit, making him spend that lava on the units that he doesn't necessarily need at that point in time, and that's really one of the hallmarks of excellence of MVP.
But of course, the difficulty for NesTea is that NesTea really does not overreact to things in the way that a lot of people would. Against MVP. So spawning down in the bottom left corner, the most decorated Zerg of all time, it is LG IEM's NesTea.
And spawning up in the top right-hand corner, we do have one of the most formidable players in StarCraft 2 history. Give it up for IEM MVP.
Now that's no fair. I want to go back and give a more justifiable intro to NesTea. I'm trying to do that responsible caster thing and not speak too loudly and blow my voice out on Group B and in the finals be like, and here we are in the finals telling secrets. NesTea is one of the few Zergs who still does that extractor trick in his main.
Yeah.
Favors just getting that extra little drone up. Really the only circumstance where that can be really helpful is if your opponent does some sort of 8 depot, 8 barracks proxiness that you have the extra drone, but I mean that's such an extreme corner case, and MVP's already revealing to us what build he wants to do. He's going to be going command center first before barracks.
Impressive little play there. With this drone scout, it could be a little bit annoying for him to end up getting that down. Drone scout, not the most common thing in the matchup, but the players that are doing it, such as NesTea, such as the likes of Bly and people like that, really able to be annoying when they see, say, for example, the SCV come out here and, hey up, he's not going to be able to get that command center down just yet.
Oh god, NesTea knows exactly what's up, and oh my god, look at NesTea going, hey MVP, that's what that feels like when you're Zerg and you're trying to build your hatch at the front. MVP does the usual response. He goes for the command center at his front, so that way he can wall it off with a supply depot with ease.
Yep, nice little block there for the NesTea to be able to just, you know, stifle MVP in his flow a little bit there. Not going to cause him too much problem, as MVP has to, you know, always account for this kind of play. Anyway, NesTea, meanwhile, just having a little bit of look around in his opponent's base, realizing no gas is down just yet. Doesn't see that gas going down. No, he does not. But again, very, very standard play here from MVP, and NesTea will end up spotting that gas for now.
This play from MVP extends quite a bit farther into the mid-game. There's really only 2 possible follow-ups. One would be to go for a little bit more aggressive 3 barracks play after you're going for those Hellions, but the more typical play that we end up seeing are players going for the 3rd command center after the Hellions. Those are really the only 2 possibilities. And look at this NesTea going hatch, hatch, pool. Love it. He's going to be going into huge macro mode, but we did see NesTea falter a bit against Puma on the map Atlantis Spaceship yesterday. NesTea was just super jet lagged. It is the most tired I've ever seen him playing, and that was certainly one of the big factors in the shakiness in those games. So I kind of expect NesTea to really show us how his plan was supposed to pan out.
Yeah, that's right. I think, you know, from what we've seen from NesTea here, he is reading his opponent very, very well. Obviously, it just resets it back to that point of, well, you know, I'm just going to go hatch first, as if it were, you know, with a second hatch. And it really equals things up to the normal standard play that you would see in this game if they'd have just gone hatch first against a normal 1 base opening from MVP anyway. So NesTea not really underreacting to the fact that his opponent goes command center first and keeps himself in that potential economic lead once that gets arisen.
Now this is interesting. It looks like MVP is actually doing neither of the things that I mentioned. He's not going to be going for the extra barracks. It looks like he's actually going to be going for the Banshee play, and I'm not so sure how much I like this, especially given the opening that NesTea did. You'd think it's more vulnerable, but it's actually a lot stronger. NesTea is going to deliberately build a lot more queens at the start of the game to be able to join everything together with creep to defend extra pushes, and of course this means that he'll be able to swat down a Hellion Banshee play with ease.
Yeah, you're entirely right. He's already going up to that 5 queen count. No doubt we'll end up maybe even seeing a 6th, 7th, or 8th added on there. 8's a bit, you know, a bit less common.
It's a bit Lucera-like.
Yes, indeed, a bit Lucera-like. Aptly on the same team, Lucera was often considered a mini NesTea.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Yeah, I mean, he could very well just do the same NesTea style, but nope, going to be doing the more classic NesTea Roach defense.
Yep, and for now we will have that Starport switching out with the barracks here for MVP to be able to get those Hellions on the way. Sorry, Banshee's on the way even. Hellions going to be moving out onto the map. And but again, I mean, how many queens do we have out? Just the 5 for now, with just a little sprinkling of lings and adding on that Roach Warren.
Yeah, NesTea is almost certainly going to be more comfortable in every situation relying on Roaches for defense. I mean, if you do go 3 hatch before a pool, you don't have gas, so you can't get lings. Roaches are the much easier transition choice. However, it's the follow-up that's the most concerning for a Zerg in every situation. Whenever Zerg focuses a little too much on defense, that's when Terrans really begin to beat down. But look at MVP already moving up with an SCV. This is the classic MVP style. Not even going to be coy about the command center, literally building it right underneath an Overlord.
I was about to ask, why hasn't he started that third command center? But there you go, he's on the way with that now, as he will be able to strike in here with a few Hellions. Certainly he's going to be able to zone those guys out in the back of the mineral field, though, here. And NesTea dealing with that very, very nicely, not losing a single drone. Very nicely done.
Back in the main base, we don't see any transitioning from MVP. He's, well, he's taking these 2 gas geysers, so guys, we're going to see mech out of MVP. Interesting choice. We saw him do this before. Oh, yeah, there's the 2 armories to follow it up as well.
Ah, we do like some mech in this matchup. Now, I mean, he could quite easily go very, very Hellion heavy here in the earlier stages of that transition to just be able to really ramp up the pressure on multiple fronts if he wants to. And from there, I mean, you know, it's a really, really nice method to actually get straight into those tanks and those Thors, doing the damage early on, just limiting your opponent, trying to gain a lot of map controllers there as well, and actually, yeah, it's just taking a little bit of splash damage there.
Really cool play by MVP. He just target fires a destructible rock to try to pick off the creep tumor, gets it down. NesTea knows the criticality of, is that a word? Criticalness? He knows how critical it is to get that creep spread going, but oh, there's the double Banshee play. A quick transfuse, not going to save that one queen at the back line. And look at how aggressively we're seeing NesTea prevent this creep spread from going down, all while not overspending all that energy.
Yeah, and I mean, MVP at the same time, you know, with this really, really nice frontal assault. And again, we're seeing this more and more now, just the Banshees with Hellions at the same time, moving into the front here. Does get a nice few drones there. 5 actually falling in rapid succession. 1 or 2 more dying here as well. The Link's actually not getting surface area on there, thanks to the Spore Crawler cleaning them up. But for now, 8 workers killed off here. MVP doing a nice little bit of harassment to begin with.
Is what I have to say about that. Keep going, Kalaris.
Sure, I shall. Thank you, Denai. As for now, we have the Zerglings swinging up into the third, having a little bit of a look around. They're going to be pesty for a little while, but not too much damage going to be done here, as double upgrades now already on the way for MVP to really bolster that mech force. And once MVP gets rolling with mech, it's very hard to shut him down. I mean, what are the options that NesTea would realistically have to deal with the mech play of NesTea here?
And this time, before I answer your question, I'm not going to inhale some of my saliva and go onto a coughing fit.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, in this transition, MVP is just straight up saying, you know what, I will absolutely go for double Thor right at the start. He's getting away with this by having such an excessive Banshees. The Banshees are actually the most important part of this early defense. It's going to shut down slow Banelings, speed Roaches, and the Hellions can deal with the Zerglings. Anything that gets thrown at MVP early on can be dealt with that Banshee play. And look at this, MVP yet again has denied creep spread so effectively. All 3 Banshees are back at home. Seems a little useless, but they are easily defending everything. What's so great about NesTea's position, though, is that with those early 3 bases, he's able to get the Spire and the Roach Warren and the double upgrades and even getting Ventral Sacks. Super uncommon to see that happen, but can easily do it with a fast 3 base.
Well, interestingly enough, I think we actually saw this in MVP versus Puma on this exact same map yesterday during the open bracket, and it was unsuccessful during Puma in the opening stages. He tried to do a little bit of damage, and the Banelings just didn't connect with the Marines where they wanted to. Now he's going to be using this against mech, and I guess if he's able to drop it across, you know, big siege lines, if there's going to be an abundance of siege tanks out here, it could do quite a bit of damage.
I mean, MVP is sort of just fleshing out all the next usual steps for the mech play. Getting the 2-2, getting the blue flame upgrade. Everything blue's happening at the same time now, but this is a fantastic little tech switch. Starting to incorporate Ravens into that play. Ravens take forever to get up and running. QXC from Team Complexity even did a nice write-up about how it takes 60 seconds to build a Raven and then another 50 seconds until you can get enough energy to even really do anything. So it takes 3 to 4 minutes to load everything up in the right way, but MVP trying to get that started up as early as possible to stockpile that Raven usage, but he's just not going to have that much time, Kalaris. There is a giganto push coming in, and I don't know how well MVP could have even been able to prepare for this. Oh, a perfect scan.
that is a very, very perfect scan indeed, as he spots exactly what's going on. Now, sent the entirety of his SCVs back from that third. In fact, he's going to use them to try and buffer against this huge, huge drop going down. All the SCVs coming from both bases here to try and deal with this. And as he does, he has so much firepower here, but it's so hard to tell who's going to be able to come out on top.
Oh my God, the most massive auto repair of all time. NesTea does not really kill any of the units of MVP, but
he didn't kill the units, but he certainly killed the workers.
Yeah,
38
I've
killed
been
off.
hesitating to bring that up, but look at that. That is the edge.
Oh, unit counting station right now. 72 drones here to the 46 SCVs. The Roaches will flee back for now, so he's going to be able to save quite a few of those units. And with the economy as potentially crippled as it's going to be here, Day 9, I mean, how does MVP kind of claw his way back from this point?
I honestly think that MVP is fine.
Yeah.
His opponent is, going for these Roaches, a lot of this air stuff is sort of flirting around the edges, but MVP has 4 orbital commands. He doesn't need that many SCVs at this moment in the game. He just needs enough to be able to mine from the refineries and enough units to buy himself time to get to 3-3 and slowly push out. I mean, even as NesTea is taking himself this 4th base and getting all this economy up, suddenly the fact that NesTea did the early expand doesn't matter anymore. There's no hive, there's no infestor count that's very high. I mean, it's all going to come down to NesTea doing stuff like this to be able to get an edge.
Yeah, I think he's going to go for that drop once again, I think. Because, I mean, after establishing, what I would consider a little bit of a lead there, because he has to replenish those SCVs so aggressively, and he's not going to have an abundance of firepower against just mass Roaches being dropped. Actually, where is he going with all these Overlords? His Roaches aren't actually up here just yet.
Oh, wow. Look at this little nest from MVP at the top. He is being absolutely well secured at the top. And MVP is kind of floating by this pack of Overlords. Roaches in mid-map, 3-3 getting started, and MVP is back to Banshee production again, a critical component to that solid defense. NesTea would love to be able to deny this as long as possible, and has thusly done a good job of this. Roaches try to step in, get instantly shut down by these siege tanks. Nothing too dramatic happening right now, but this is actually exactly what MVP wants. This is a slow trigger loading. NesTea knows it. This is a very, very dangerous position as a Zerg. How do you start chipping away at this indestructible Terran force?
No, you're actually completely right on that. I mean, whilst I was saying that, it can, if you want to continue the aggression here to constantly try and stifle the constant growth of a mech force, it can be hard to find those angles to go by about doing it. Now, I mean, MVP is taking so many good precautions, making walls at these ramps, for example, just to be able to make sure no Roach kind of run-by comes along to put some harassment into his bases. And as such, you're right, he's going to max out on mech, and a max mech army is very, very cost-efficient.
Yeah, max mech army is almost impossible to kill. I mean, just looking at the army tab, we see that even though both players are max, a much more expensive army lies in MVP's court. He's almost at 3-3, but now that he's maxed, oh, there's the ripple on the ground. Oh, and it looks like he unburrows right before any of the siege tanks can siege up and really deal the maximum damage. But look at those Roaches fall. Oh my God, NesTea's food has plummeted down to 130 in a matter of seconds, and it's right before the Greater Spire has finished morphing.
Jeez, when we said they were cost-effective, we weren't kidding, as that was just a massacre. Yes, he took out a few Thors, but they're going to be replenished extremely quickly here by MVP, constantly moving up here now into the natural of his opponent with so many Blue Flame Hellions, going to cause so much damage. Meanwhile, Zergling's countering at the 4th here, but is that really enough to hold back this menacing force?
I mean, this force is absolutely perfect. There's the Greater Spire standing strong right now. Almost nothing here can shoot up. Oh my God, NesTea has more than enough Broodlords up at this point in time. MVP realizes it. He has to start killing a lot fast, but in the meantime, NesTea has managed to kill off a bunch of workers at the 3rd and 4th expansions. And now MVP needs to run. He needs to just unsiege target fire these hatcheries, pick off whatever he can. The Blue Flame Hellions are suddenly going to be his greatest friend against all these Broodlords.
They are, but they're slowly being whittled down themselves as the Broodlings will be able to chase them away for now. So these Broodlords have been very cost-effective in themselves.
Oh, it looks like he is going to be able to line those up. Kalaris, he's going to try to take him out. He's lining him up. Fourth base being taken down right now. Both players, oh my goodness. It looks like that worker kill tab has started to even up a bit. 74 workers killed for NesTea. With this small force of Ling Roach might be NesTea's savior in this game. The tanks from MVP have done the full circuit and are on the retreat.
NesTea continuing to upgrade these +3 ranged weapons along with +3 armor here, which is, you know, fantastic. Well, the +3 ranged weapons, unless he's going to have, you know, just go for an abundance of roaches, but against this mech force, unless he gets the most perfect, pristine engagement, it's so difficult to deal with. And MVP is really keeping, you know, an eye on all the angles that are covered.
Yeah, I mean, going for kind of a big roach mix is all right against a meching player, but it's not just I'm going to build roaches because it's the right unit. It's that it's the most mobile thing that can exploit these slow mech units. You can run around, you can attack this front, you can do counterattacks over here, etc., but you have to be able to get into those offensive positions. Right now, NesTea is just sitting passive.
Yep, as we will have plenty more Vikings on the way for him here, just to be able to deal with those Broodlords that were such a thorn in his side as he pushed out into the natural and the main of his opponent there. And, I mean, he's even getting his ship weapons as well as armor up now, so there's really not that many Corruptors to contend with this rising Viking count, but both players don't really have to. Well, actually, now that I say that, MVP has a very vibrant economy here. Wow, he's dwarfing NesTea at this point.
Just crushing, and here's an attempted swing around from NesTea, trying to skirt along the edge of that creep. He's trying to engage before these Broodlords inevitably fall. The Roach is getting a near perfect concave, but they just cannot kill the Thor tank fast enough, and MVP rapidly ripping NesTea to shreds. The rarely seen mech army making a nice debut in this best-of-3, showing how incredibly strong a maxed mech army really is. And now at 3-3, oh god, how does NesTea even deal with it?
I don't know, he's getting that Spyro once again, plenty more roaches on the way, but he's down around 80 supply right now. MVP just looking to go for some kind of killing maneuver. A few roaches.
Oh, and Roach scans it. Oh, the overkill. Good game. MVP with a smile on the other side. Now, before we talk any more about that match, I wanted to give an extra special announcement to everyone in the crowd here, who I know is loving watching NesTea versus MVP. Aren't you? Okay, they're just looking at me. That's great. I wanted to let all of you know that Tastosis is over at the Intel booth for the next 30 minutes, starting now. It's that way. If you're looking at the screen, turn around and look at me. I'm pointing to where it is. It's over there. I'm using both hands powering. This was the position I was in off camera. I don't even care. I was like...
That was impressive.
I love giving directions to strangers. Hey, where's the nearest pharmacy? I'm like, it's that way.
In a Power Rangers-esque maneuver.
Yeah, and I shoot a lightning bolt down the street to where it is. Let's talk a little bit about that match. I mean, the fact is, Mech made a really nice appearance. The drop play from NesTea fell short.
Yeah.
Or actually, I guess it didn't quite fall short. It killed 38 workers and still total one-sided match.
Yeah, it was... I overstated. After seeing 38 workers, you get a little bit excited when they die, when that amount dies. But clearly, MVP had it well under control. He was very, very formidable in that game. And again, it comes back to the amount of firepower that Mech can provide going up against a Zerg, where they just don't have that cost-effective unit to really trade against that massive, massive firepower. Yeah,
it's not about getting maxed fast. It's about getting maxed at all.
Yeah.
And if a huge push kills off 38 workers, all you have to do is ask the question, can I still get maxed with a reasonable 3-base setup? And the answer is absolutely. We have 4 orbital commands. I just rebuild the SCVs, mule it up, then get maxed. That's basically what MVP did. The next map is not a mech-friendly map. It is Metropolis, which is very much so the sit around and get Ghost, Raven, cool mixes, but we did see sort of take down MVP on this map.
Yeah, he really did. And I'm pretty sure a few people were surprised by that kind of result, sort of.
Yes. Or, excuse me, not sort of, Targa, that's right.
Yes, Targa, of course. Targa, he kind of came really out of nowhere. A lot of people in EU and NA don't really know too much about Targa, but in the SEA server, he is a very, very formidable opponent. So Clearly, he's just been practicing down in his corner of the world, and has been doing really well. So.
But I mean, MVP in that series tried to go for kind of a long-term play, but it got shut down very, very badly by just aggressive linging. So don't think that's really much of NesTea's style, but still excited to see what both players are going to do. Down in the bottom, currently down 0-1, the best Zerg player in the world, LG IEM's NesTea.
And spawning up in the top right-hand corner here, as our Red Terran. He's one game up. Give a cheer for LG IEM MVP. I'm sorry, I just tried to outdo you. That's bad, right? It's okay.
Certainly no problem. I can handle anything. MVP is going to do one of the classic maneuvers of Terrans nowadays, to hide something normal.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hide something spooky, like maybe I'm going Proxy Reaper, Proxy Marauder, something like that.
You mean like Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
It's behind the mask all along. Actually, no, they weren't scared, because this is a janitor or the guy who runs the water slide.
You know, I will say that my brother and I grew up watching Scooby-Doo, and I think that that is one of the most disappointing things to watch in childhood, because you're really excited. Who could it be? And in the end, it's always, oh, it's him. Oh, that sucks. And then we'd watch Pirates of Darkwater, which was a truly well-done animation program.
True. It sort of spoiled the magic a little bit. Yeah, there's ghosts and ghouls and monsters, but no. As for now, hey, MVP can be a bit of a ghoul himself when it comes against NesTea here, as NesTea able to spot the barracks up to the top right-hand corner. Really nice, very, very methodical scouting from NesTea to be able to spot exactly what's going on. And as such, he's probably going to know that it's that just kind of one barracks expand at this point. Yeah.
I mean, again, it's so common to hide something crazy or something nuts to try to make sure your opponent doesn't see it. But one of the best tricks is to just hide something normal. NesTea is just going to go a barracks expand, the most typical opening that you can do as Terran.
Yeah.
However, by hiding the barracks, there's an off chance that maybe NesTea will spot it and do everything normal as well.
Yeah.
But every now and again, he panics and builds too many lings.
That's very, very true. And any little kind of advantage you can gain early on, any way in which you can force the Zerg to make just an extra pair of lings more than they were wanting to from there on. Drones matter. Drone production matters so much more in that early game because of the ratio to because of the ratio of which you actually have drones in comparison to the mid and late. So.
No, I mean, if you just think of how much money did this drone earn me this game? It's one of those starting drones. They're really good. They're like the first employees of the company. They get a lot of share in the stock of NesTea's game number 2.
They do indeed. As for now, we will have Factory on the way here for MVP. So he is just going to be flying forwards with that tech, and he already has that double gas going down here. So maybe we're going to see another mech play again, actually, but that would be really, really strange. Although that being said, if he gets up to 5 bases, for example, and because again, Metropolis is with that map where you just go for that big macro game. There's no reason he couldn't realistically get very, very maxed out very quickly, but there is always just those 1 or 2 avenues to push down, which can't help too much.
I mean, I would like to see kind of a longer-term game so we can really see what the significant points of the matchup are on Metropolis. The most significant things are these islands up in the top left that really separate how you end up closing the game, how you end up closing the series. Sure, we'll both get 5 base versus 5 base, and sure, NesTea or MVP will instantly go build an orbital command up at the top side, instantly getting this barracks. Yep, I mean, MVP is probably going to do his standard play, 2 Hellions followed by 2 more, and then just swapping. Or maybe even just swapping right now and going straight into Marine Tank.
Oh, this is greedy map central. Realistically, how often do you see on any other map just that quick a third command center in position? Just to be able, I mean, maybe like on Entombed Valley if someone's going to break down the rocks really, really fast or something like that. But, you know, MVP, very, very content with the position he's in. He's already got 1 game over NesTea right now, so he's got that little bit of a buffer anyway to even take a few risks if NesTea wants to get really, really aggressive here. And with that double evolution chamber going down, chances are NesTea might be preparing for the long game here. So maybe no aggression on the way just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that MVP instantly goes and checks that corner, because look at this. I mean, almost every player will get a double engineering bay at some point.
Yeah.
And almost every player who thinks, yeah, I'm going to do this fast, will get it kind of early too. But MVP checks down here. Oh, you're taking a third? All right, I'm totally safe. And he gets it as early as physically possible, and that is what makes him the best Terran player in the world. He doesn't just blindly do this. That would be too risky. He knows exactly what he's up against. And look at this excellent wall up by NesTea. NesTea would have loved to bait that forward, but for now, we see the incredibly high 5 queen count for NesTea, so we can spread the creep as much as possible. We see that at the front, NesTea sees in the main, sees that there's this this reactor going down by MVP. MVP will actually delay his starport by just a smidge to maximize the amount of barracks unit that he has, and to focus more on upgrades.
Yep, and as you rightly pointed out, this map very, very useful for that kind of bio style. And again, you know, when it does get to that very, very big kind of max out situation where you're taking all your bases on this map, it really is drop play that is able to stretch a Zerg very, very thinly here. If they're feeling comfortable, hey, drop at the main as well as the 5th at any given point in time to really, really test the multitasking of a player like NesTea, who, for all intents and purposes, has actually really, really good multitasking. So we'll see if he can be able to do something like that going on.
And you know, I do want to talk about that multitasking a little bit in the context of yesterday's games. NesTea, I mean, I guess I'd say if you had to pick just a sentence to describe his play, it just looked flimsy yesterday.
Yeah.
And if you kind of zoomed in, if you're one of those people who's a real fanatic who's watched NesTea all the time, he literally played exactly the way you play when you're really tired. He was doing these brilliant tactical maneuvers and then completely missing 3 medevacs that walked right by a pack of overlords on the minimap. I mean, it was this total hit and miss, and he narrowly qualified. Fortunately today, his play is looking way more smooth. It's very much so maximum NesTea mode, but there's still that issue of jet lag. There's that issue that we saw literally demonstrated by NesTea yesterday. If you're a Zerg and you are tired, you can easily end up struggling in games against less than Codes players.
Yeah, and not only, I mean, is there that potential issue of jet lag and things like that, but there's also the issue of going up against the best Terran in the world, which can fluster some people from time to time. Maybe even the great NesTea, as he is, I mean, MVP is just playing very, very relatively passively here. He does have a Viking sharking around to be able to try and pick up Overlords if he finds them, as well as poking at the front with Hellions, but he's just getting siege tanks up. He's more than content to sit back on these 3 bases, and he does get caught out.
Speaking of a little bit of sloppiness, we see those Hellions literally sacrifice themselves, and now MVP is in the dark. He has this 1 northern watchtower, but now MVP is going to have to rely on this mobile Marine Marauder force, and yet again we see in classic MVP fashion the delay of the medevacs and the favoring of earlier tanks. This is very much so his style, and it's always been his style, and it's the opposite of everyone else's style. What are these drones doing? Oh my gosh, these poor drones just headbutting the infestation pit.
Some kind of altar that they're worshipping as it pulsates away. But for now, we will end up having plenty of creep spread actually going down here for NesTea. He was able to pick off quite a bit of it though, with the Hellions cleaning up that and not really having too many more of those active creep tumors going. But he already has a queen there to be able to re-bolster that. For now though, actually, NesTea MVP moving out into the middle of the map here with quite a nice contingent of Marines to, you know, if not actually put on some pressure, just scare NesTea a little bit. Just say, you know, you really need to make some units here. But then again, he does have 99 drones, so maybe he doesn't want to make any more just yet.
Yeah, the strategy that NesTea is going for is to mass up on drones, saturate 4 bases maximally. He'll rely some on some usual Baneling tactics, but basically, he's going to be going for mass spine crawler. He's going to flood the map with spines in a moment, and that will buy him time to deal with this 3-base push that's actually just started to power up. We see the 2-2s wrapping up, 3-3 is going to be en route soon. There's some tanks out on the map, just now getting that 2nd factory started. So NesTea is going to very easily be able to get to Hive Tech with this tactic.
Yep, indeed he is, as Marines get dropped in the 5th location to be able to put on a little bit of pressure. Not too much going on here just yet, though. Killing off some of those banelings way quicker than they were able to connect, and picking up finally as those zerglings do come in to be able to shoo them away. But, you know, this 5th goes up pretty much uncontested at this point. And as such, I mean, he's still got so many Marines being produced here, and is actually adding on double starport here just in case that Hive tech is on the way. And actually, has he dropped a scan just yet? He knows that Hive is morphing in. So he's taking the precautions necessary to be able to deal with that, but actually, with the Ultralisk Cavern going down, there we go, there's Inspire as well.
Yeah, I mean, NesTea literally doing everything late game style.
Yeah.
All the Infestors up, getting the double Spire, the Ultralisk Cavern, the Adrenal Glands, everything is going down right now.
It is, as he does go for a double drop once again in the back here, but Banelings connect with so much of that. A little overstep there by MVP. Nice cleanup by NesTea.
Liking the way that this game's looking for NesTea. MVP is starting to advance forward, doing this drop play that you were talking about beforehand. He's so good about just keeping the opponent torn. Look at this, just with a Marauder and a Marine, this hatchery may very well fall, because in the main base, the target fire, the spawning pool, completely vulnerable, gets steamrolled in a matter of seconds. And what is he going to be target firing next? Well, he's just going to be heading on home, and meanwhile at the left side, these 2 medevacs still causing NesTea not to be able to mine.
Day 9, 2 Ravens are in production here for MVP, as we shall be having a little bit of an interesting transition coming out from him. Meanwhile, plenty of command centers going down here, there, and everywhere to be able to stabilize himself on these 5 bases, as is so common on this map. And I mean, granted, it was not in this matchup, but we can all hark back to that GSL finals where MVP went up against Squirtle on Metropolis.
Yeah, I mean, I love this late gameplay. I mean, I wish there was like another word for it, like the post-game end of time play, where MVP is actually completely going past the norm of this matchup, which is, you know what, this matchup generally ends with the Terran player rounding out his tech tree with some Marauders or with some Ghosts maybe. As MVP's dropping around hectically everywhere else, he is transitioning to a mass Raven army.
Yeah, with that Hunter-Seeker missile on the way, Corvid Reactor as well. More Ravens being produced here. 10, 11 Corruptors being added on, as well as that plus 3/3 for Grounded and Chitinous plating. So he is pretty much, both players here going for very, very nice compositions, but constant drop pressure everywhere, Day 9.
I mean, we even have 2 more medevacs heading in here. This is triple drop play. What is MVP trying to do? Sure, he's trying to do some damage. Sure, he's happy to pick off and rip down as many expansions, and he does even get 1. Might he get 2? It looks like absolutely not is the correct answer, as he just gets instant-nabbed with these 2 Banelings ready to pick down anything that unloads. But what MVP's basically doing is he's replacing his supply away from Marines and into Ravens. This takes a really long time to do, but when you have 2 planetaries, another planetary, and let's go ahead and reposition this planetary. I mean, MVP's basically claiming, I want to have an extremely long game, and I'm fine with it.
And it's such a wise maneuver to go for replacing this very kind of, I mean, it's low supply, but it's also low efficiency army in the form of Marines, going up against, you know, huge Infestor Broodlord compositions with maybe even Ultralisks worked in there as he does get that going. So NesTea, for now, he's just got a ton of Zerglings. He might want to throw away these Zerglings unless he actually wants to just go for mass Baneling. But again, if MVP just wants to go for mass air after all of this drop pressure, then those Banelings aren't too useful.
Suddenly the main is in a lot of trouble. We see another Spine Crawler's trying to get morphed in, but MVP is just spotting everything, picking off, accidentally runs into the Spore Crawler. A nice transfuse on the Spore Crawler prevents anything from getting lifted up. And MVP gets thwarted yet again, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that comment you made earlier about the efficiency of Marines versus Ravens. A Raven is a 2 supply unit.
Yep.
So let's imagine 4 Ravens hanging out, that's 8 supply.
Yep.
If you have a pack of 15 Broodlords clustered together,
yep,
would you rather have 8 Marines going up against it, or would you rather have 4 Ravens for 4 Seeker missiles? It's a really obvious answer.
Yeah.
and because I'm a commentator, I'll just outright say it is the Seeker Missile is a lot better.
Thank you, Day9.
So what makes the Marines so powerful is that in mid-games and even in early late games, they're efficient. They're able to rip down and deal with a lot of different places at once, but as we see MVP sacrificing these SCVs, he's going to slowly start sacrificing more and more Marines and just max out on this Raven force, all these Vikings coming up. It's going to be a Sky Terran style, and I am so thrilled that we're going to get the chance to see the true power of the Seeker Missile. NesTea is going to have to get the most perfect fungals. I mean, even with this Army supply tab, we're starting to see MVP's catching up in value.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note at this point as well is that NesTea doesn't actually know anything about this air transition that's currently developing here.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about the starports, and he hasn't seen the Ravens and Vikings amassing. So this could quite easily take NesTea by surprise, but he's adding on a lot of corruptors. So this is really just game sense triggering here from NesTea. He knows his teammate. He knows what he can do. There goes another hat trick once again. And as such, he's going to be adding on the anti-air to be able to deal with someone who he's played with for literally almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I mean, MVP is actually getting surprisingly low on the Marine count. This really shows his comfort with the Sky Terran style. NesTea does lose a single Infestor, a little bit of a flub there. Might even lose another one as NesTea is just having such a problem with these pain in the ass drops.
He is, and look what we have going on in the main of MVP, a lovely little fusion.
Oh my God. Does everyone in the crowd know the dance? All right, hold it. Soon enough. And I'll even go ahead and just throw a note to the producer, who's no doubt listening to me. When the entire crowd does the fusion core dance, make sure you get a shot of the crowd. Oh, it's gonna be so kick-ass.
It shall be, man. It shall be. As look at how many Vikings he has out here. 22 Vikings right now. He's actually adding on a lot more Marines to constantly. It's nice actually adding on the Marines whilst going for this transition because he's constantly providing himself that little buffer, not only to continue to do the harassment, but just in case his opponent pushes in, he has something to really deal with some damage.
Oh, NesTea's moving in for the kill. He doesn't know. Oh, this is going to go so terribly for the Zerg player. Oh, that is so clustered up. Where are the Ravens? How is he going to answer? There's the scan. He sees what he's up against. Plenty of corruptors up at the front lines. A decent spread right now. But look at the huge arc. Where are the Seeker missiles? Oh God, he's clustered up and he manages to nab it. Oh, there they go! Oh my God! Oh my goodness! GG! MVP with a 2-0 against IEM NesTea with one of the most ridiculous Hunter-Seeker missile clusters I have ever seen in my entire life. Day9, what on earth was that?
Well,
what? Well, I mean, there's MVP giving an apology to NesTea. I'm sorry, it was Metropolis. What other option did I have? I'm actually going to try to hop back into that game just to get to that late game situation so we can see that.
You want to say that again?
That OMG worthy.
That never before Day9, apart from in something crazy like fastest map possible where you have 200 Ravens anyway.
Yeah.
Have I seen something quite as devastating in damage as that? That was better than a nuke.
Yeah, I mean, the Seeker missile is one of the most powerful abilities to deal with late game Zerg ever. I mean, a composition that even, I guess I'd almost call it a mystical composition. The Mass Queen Corruptor Broodlord Infestor force that seems indestructible, nothing but transfuses going on. Even that gets decimated by the Hunter-Seeker missile force. It's not having Hunter-Seeker missiles that's hard, it's getting them that's the hard part.
That
and
was
you just play on Metropolis and then you
have a lot of
get them.
I'm kind of speechless.
Well, I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to speed the game up. Amazingly, it was only the 25-minute mark that game reached. But, I mean, NesTea just did a brilliant, basic tactical idea. I will just build up my big mid-game army, medevacs, tanks, Marines. Rather than push with it, the tanks, that second finger I used, will be used to stay on the defensive. And then the Marines and the medevacs, those will be used dropping 2 at a time. For every pair of medevac drops that were going on, he was able to buy himself enough time to get another 2 to 4 Ravens. So if you do that 4, 5, 6 times in the game, that's where the 15 Ravens comes from.
Yeah, he was, again, we've said it many a time during this tournament, but he was just pinning him back so that actually NesTea really couldn't do much else other than continue to clean up the mess in MVP's wake. It was a really nice play there. I
mean, in all matchups over time, yes. This is this is what happens when we have a glass wall behind us in commentary. Because this is some sort of plexiglass. It's not real glass. That would be extremely dangerous. It falls back and kills all the crowd. Accidentally
sorry,
killed
guys.
them with there's a lot of broken glass at the tournament. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. In pretty much every matchup, the beastly powerful is being replaced by the more mobile, fast, attackable. I mean, think about Protoss versus Zerg. It used to be Colossus Void Ray, and then it was Colossus Blinkstalker, and now it's a little bit more just Blinkstalker, Immortal.
Well, it's that with worked-in Warp Prism harassment on every angle possible with charge lots, trying to rip apart an opponent's tech from the inside out. So I want to actually hop back into the game so we can take a look at that last Seeker Missile explosion. This is awesome. Let me just we get it in slow-mo?
Let me just drop this down. So if we look, right now NesTea has lost a little bit more than MVP. This is a sign of all the drops that have gone on. Here it comes. We have this huge arc of Vikings. Just look at the spread on those Vikings. 3 fungals will hit most of those, but it's this Raven count that you'll notice at 16. So let's go back to units lost tab.
Oh my gosh.
So the ideal would be to land on these Broodlords, but pretty much anywhere where the cluster is largest. Here's where you Seeker Missiles start heading. Of course I can. I'm the one driving. No. All right. Now just direct your eyes up here at 15,000.
Oh my God.
Then it just went up by about 10K. And you'll notice that most of these Ravens actually have quite a bit of energy left over. They'll hang out a little bit longer and be able to Seeker Missile again.
Hey, do you remember what we were saying about Broodlords being really expensive for the supply?
Yeah.
There you go. Oh dear.
Can't wait for my opponent to build Broodlords so I can kill them off and get a really good unit loss tab. Well, that means that we've now had the first matchup of Group B done.
What a spectacle to kick things off here in Group B. A huge thanks for joining us here for the Intel Extreme Masters Gamescom. Don't forget to hashtag IEM as well as check out esl.tv/IEM.
Yep. And whether you're watching on the Day 9 TV stream or the IEM home stream, if you go to that esl.tv website, you can pick up the IEM HD pass and watch all of this in 720p. It's either €5 or $6, depending on where you are. And that's it.
And like us on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And the link below.
When we come back, we're going to be checking out NesTea versus Violet, which is certainly going to be an excellent match.
Wow. Awesome stuff, but we shall be sending it over to Jared Kale on the stage with the good sir MVP.
I'm standing here with the winner and demigod, LG IEM MVP. And in a tragic twist of fate, we do not have a translator. And as much as I want to ask him about his flawless mech play, and him showing us that Ravens might actually be good, I can't do that. However, there's this very special fan here that might be described as a fanboy that has a gift that he wanted to give to MVP, so I thought that that might make an acceptable substitution. So, fanboy. Fanboy.
Can I have the microphone? Okay, so since I'm the biggest fanboy of MVP and this is the greatest pro gamer in the world, I bring him some Polish candies. So, yeah, this is my gift for him.
It's a gift. GG. Very well played. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to commercial, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.